What's going on, guys? So I've been using the OnePlus 13 for a couple days now, and I actually want to give you guys my first impressions of the OnePlus 13R. This is OnePlus's budget value version that doesn't come with all the bells and whistles that the OnePlus 13 series does, but the R series gives you the essentials of what OnePlus wants for their customers, which is performance, battery life, and a good looking phone. You know what else is good looking on this channel? Our sponsor, nobody. So I will have the OnePlus 13 here as a comparison device here and there, but I'm actually going to leave it off on the far right side. And let's go ahead and give credit where credit is due, and this was made in China. Once again, this device has been out for a while overseas, but it's now just being released in North America. And inside the box, let's just see what we got. I did get the Astral White this time around, so it'll be easier to tell which one is which. OnePlus fashion, never settle, but this part is red instead of black. I don't think I get a case, unlike some of the other variants and reviewers, but we still get that SIM removal tray, or SIM removal tool, I should say, the quick start guide, safety guide, and then you also have this adapter here. I'm not going to take it out because I don't necessarily need it. When you lift up this part here, you should... what's this? Okay, that's kind of weird. Extra padding there. We do have a USB-A power adapter, and just checking to see what the wattage here it is. Turns out this is a 55 watt power adapter, and then we also officially become part of the Red Cable Club. It is USB-A to USB-C. Here's the device itself, and just taking off the wrapping. Ooh, this is actually a pretty nice white. So it's definitely a more boxy design compared to the 13R that has a slight curve to it. Feels more like a Pixel phone. Let me actually go ahead and bring the Pixel out. Once again, this isn't a comparison video, this is just first impressions, but I think people who are trying to buy this device might see similarities with the other competition within the price point. I'll talk about the OnePlus 13 in a second, but I want to focus on the devices that are on the table in front of me right now. So this is the S24 and this is the Pixel 9. S24 is going to be a little bit smaller. If you want to compare like apples to apples, you're going to have to get the plus size if you're trying to get the same size phone. But in terms of the overall design and the feel in the hand, I would say that it feels really similar. Obviously, OnePlus has this volume controller on the right hand side that dictates whether you want the ringer on, vibrate, or silent, where that doesn't really exist on the Pixel or Samsung devices. But as you can see, in terms of a boxy design, like I said, it seems like everyone is going with a boxy design nowadays. It's very reminiscent of the S24, and when I pick up the Pixel, you know, flat edges all the way around, right? So that's kind of what the competition, or I should say, that's where the industry is going once again. But yeah, let me go ahead, power on the device. Almost feels like I have an old school Droid in my hand. But just looking at the back for a second, look at how it spirals out. Definitely gives it a nice look to it, but we also have to give it a quick smell test. Let's go ahead and smell the product. Good job. It doesn't smell like anything. Nope, doesn't smell like anything. Pretty good. So once again, this is the Astral White, and it has like a radial pattern that's coming out from the camera. I would say I probably would prefer this on the 13 series device, but neither here or there. But yeah, here we are in the phone. Let me go ahead and just set this up super quick. So I transferred as much information as I could from the 13 over to the 13R. As you can see, my home screen didn't transfer over. I'm also not sure why the time and the day is actually an hour ahead and a day ahead on the 13R, but regardless, we're just gonna go ahead and roll with it. The first thing that I wanna do is hop over into settings and go over to the display. So in the display, as you can see here, we have both dark and light mode. I'm just gonna have it set to light for the video purposes. I don't have any of the screen color mode on. It's always set to natural. Ooh, this is actually set to vivid for some reason. So I'm actually gonna set this back to natural, and it gives me more of like a warmer tone, which I can't say I'm that big of a fan of. But regardless, we're gonna have it set over to natural. Was not expecting that on the 13R. Going to the eye comfort mode, this should all be off, which it is. Doesn't help your sleep improvement, apparently. You have adaptive tone, which will adjust the warmness and coolness of the display based off the ambient light that you have. I'm actually going to have this set to off. Font size, I have it mainly set to the default ones. Display size, I might have changed something. Nope, it's actually on standard. I can go over to small, large. I'm going to leave it over to standard. Image sharpener, video boost, I'm going to have that off. I actually have it set to 1 minute. I'm going to up that. Fingerprint sensor, just like that. It is the sonic fingerprint sensor instead of the ultrasonic, so it's not going to be as accurate, but I would say 8 times out of 10, the fingerprint sensor is going to work for you. Screen attention I have off. The screen resolution I have set to highest on both the devices. The resolution is higher on the 13, but I would say devices this small, you're really not going to notice that big of a difference between the standard resolution and the higher resolution. I would say if you want to preserve your battery life, it's better off to just go over to standard. Lastly, going over to the refresh rate, I have it set to auto. If you explicitly want it to be high, you can, but I would say with Oxygen OS 15, OnePlus is doing a pretty good job on determining, what is the best refresh rate to be running at depending on what you're doing on the device. So let's just go ahead, hop over to YouTube real quick. So now we're in YouTube and let's just test out the scrolling on both devices. I'm sorry, once again, I didn't want this to be a comparison video, but at this point, it's pretty much a comparison video. If I didn't have both devices side by side, I would say they're pretty much even. But 13 objectively I would say has a smoother display. There was also this weird thing, let me actually move the 13 away. There was this weird thing that they were doing in the showcasing of the 13 series in general where they were opening apps and closing them as fast as they could, which I'm not really sure if that serves a purpose. I see those videos on YouTube all the time, but in terms of like practicality and real world usage, I don't really know who's opening their apps super fast like this. Like to me, this is just like an internet flex. But regardless, you are able to do that on the OnePlus 13R. It does have the Snapdragon Gen 3 instead of the Elite series that we have on the 13. But I would say this is a pretty capable chip. It was in the chip that was in the OnePlus 12 last year. So you're not getting a slouch by any means. The other nice thing as well is if you were to, set a timer, let me just go ahead and set something for, let's just say 1 hour, 20 minutes. And I go here. The timer actually should show up, but for some reason it's not. Maybe when it's on like the last 20 or below 30 minutes, it'll show. So as you can see up there, it does have that nice island, vibrate, silent, ring. So while that timer is going down, let's go ahead and just check out the display and the speakers. So the brightness is set to max, and I'm setting this to 4K 60. And once again, I will do a shot of this in the complete dark so you can see what it looks like, but it's flat, so it's, I would argue, probably a better viewing experience. And some people mentioned that I need to actually expand it. Personally, not the biggest fan of expanding videos, but it is the option. I would say it looks really good. 4K 60 HDR, the colors look great. If you want a little bit more pop as well, you can turn on the video booster. I think it's a little bit too vivid for me and saturated, so I just leave it on natural, turn that stuff off. But for a display at $600, that can technically go up to 4,500 nits in those HDR scenes. You're not going to be disappointed with this screen at all. So let me go ahead and jump to some random part in the video, hop to a different part. Hopefully we have a bit of a brighter scene of where I'm jumping to. Perfect. So you can see the snow. It's not super bright, like it's white. Ooh, this is a very good scene right here. So I'm not sure what camera this is captured on and if they're using any filters, but there's snow clearly, but the house itself for this building has white wooden panels or some type of paneling, and you can see all the different colors of the white. So you can see this is the piping that goes down from the drainage, I forgot what that's called, the gutter, the panels that are on the outside, the pretty much single white shade of the snow on the roof, and even on the chimney you have the white that's on the outer parts of the tree. They're not all one tone, they're all a gradient of white, which I don't even know if that's a proper term that I could be using, but I would say in terms of HDR brightness, it's the proper amount of brightness that I would want in something that is white. And I would say this has a bit of like a cooler tone. I'm sorry that I keep dragging the phone off to the right. It has a bit of a cooler tone to it overall, so it has a bit of a hint of blue. So it definitely feels like it just recently snowed wherever this is. This is actually another good scene that I just skipped over. Now this I would say is very white. That part of the road is very white. Everything else is like a subtle white. This has to be some Nordic country. Oh, never mind. This is New York. Yeah, let me just hop to some random scene one more time, and then we'll go over to, ooh, that blue, that ocean. Amazing. So that's enough about the display. Once again, it's really hard to go wrong with the OLED display these days on a phone that I would say cost more than $400 in the most recent years. It's probably going to be better than your TV nowadays. The other thing a person mentioned before I get into the speaker test is I should go over to my settings, scroll down to sounds. Oops, went to notifications. Go to sounds, scroll down to sound effects, and you want to set this to movie so it has better surround capabilities. You can go to hollow audio. I don't think this is necessarily going to work that well. If you had headphones plugged in, it would give you the option to have spatial and whether you want it to be tracked or fixed. I have it on the fixed location, but regardless, now let's test out the speakers and see if there's any, drastic improvement from the standard version. I'm going to turn it down to like 80% because it's at max volume and it is getting a bit distorted. So let me go watch one of my videos with some regular audio. Released past couple days when you're seeing this video, but I really enjoyed my time with the OnePlus 12 last year, so let's go ahead and get this unboxed. But we also got to talk about the first sponsor this year, which is nobody. All right, so if you aren't familiar with this channel, we always got to give credit where credit is due, and this phone was made in China. So the thing with the speakers are, at lower frequencies, it gets distorted pretty fast. Like, I don't think the speaker that's inside the 13R can handle those low frequencies at higher volumes. That's not to say that the speaker overall is bad. I think it's still a very capable and good speaker. I'd say anything over like 60, 75%, it starts to get distorted, especially if you have sound at that lower frequency. So if you're watching something that has a lot of bass to it, or just a lot of ominous music that might be going on, or bass heavy music, it's going to get distorted if you're listening to this on your speaker. So for example, if you're playing speakers from your phone and you're showering, max volume, you might hear some distortion. Other than that, I would say it's pretty much clear. Don't really notice too much when it comes to the movie selection over smart. But regular frequencies like the mids and the highs, they all sound fine, not distorted at higher frequencies, but 75% is what I would say the max speaker should be. Otherwise, just plug in your headphones or connect Bluetooth headphones to this or speaker and call it a day. I'd say with the money you might be saving with the 13, just go ahead, buy yourself some headphones or a Bluetooth speaker and you'll be completely fine. All right, now let's go over to the camera. So this is the 3-time shot that I took, but before I get into that, there is no Hasselblad anywhere, so there's not going to be those random pop-ups of Hasselblad this, Hasselblad that. You're getting just pretty much whatever OnePlus wants you to see with the native camera. So this is the 3-time zooms. I would say that it doesn't look too bad. It actually looks pretty good in my opinion. I kind of prefer this over the Hasselblad collaboration that they're doing. And then this is the ultra wide. I'd also say looks pretty good. I'd say this is kind of realistic for what it's showing. It might look a little bit overblown on camera, but with this studio light that I have, I would say that actually looks pretty accurate. I'd say the box probably isn't that orange. It's more of a deeper red, but moving over to the 1-times, the main camera that most people are going to be using, as you can tell, this looks like orange, and then this looks like that deep red that I was talking about before. Not portrait or anything, it's just focusing on the subject, and I would say this looks really good. For if you told me this was a OnePlus camera, I would be shocked. And once again, I feel like I kind of prefer OnePlus doing their own software rather than the whole collaboration that they're doing with Hasselblad these past years. Regardless, I would say this gets a pass in my book. Looks really good, and I think a lot of people are going to be satisfied with this. All right, moving over to the portrait shot. Not sure why I'm looking away, and my gut reaction says this doesn't look as good as the 13. I'd say the 13 looks better overall, but once again, $600 smartphone. I would say I'm completely satisfied with this. I'm nitpicking here, but if you zoom in on the portrait shots, you might find some weird things that might be happening. So like on my ear, I'd say it's a little bit over blurring and kind of putting the blue in front of my ear. Don't think that's the greatest thing. It's also like this on the right hand side. This happens on pretty much every smartphone. I don't want to say this is like a test, like a quantitative objective test. This is just me shooting in front of my TV. But with this camera, portrait shot, front facing camera, I would say I'm completely satisfied with this. This is the regular shot, doing the half face on the other side. Once again, gut reaction tells me this doesn't look as good as the 13, but I would say I'm still pretty satisfied and happy with this coming from a $600 smartphone. I'd say the camera is actually what you're taking a hit on whenever you go to OnePlus in general, and when you go down to the when you go down to the R series. So talking a little bit more about the camera limitations or getting the downgrade version of the OnePlus, you can't do 4K 60 on the R series. You can only go up to 1080, which isn't a deal breaker. Can't even do 60, which is actually a bit sad, but this is what the camera quality is like. You guys let me know how it looks and sounds. From the preview screen, I would say this looks pretty good, honestly. But the fact you can't do 4K kind of sucks, but hey, it is what it is. Most people probably don't even change that setting anyway on their smartphone, and if you're getting a OnePlus anyway, you're probably not too focused on the camera department. You just want it to take a good photo for the most part. You care more about performance and battery life. But yeah, you guys let me know how this looks and sounds. Let's go ahead and check out the back camera. All right, so this is the back camera on the OnePlus 13R. You guys let me know how it looks and sounds. Like I said before, the preview shot on the front-facing camera while I was taking the video looked pretty good. So you guys let me know if there's any improvement from the previous clip you just saw. Hopefully the audio is better. It might be the same. But I'd say for the 13R, $600, I keep saying this over and over again, it's looking like a pretty good deal if you don't care about the super craziness that you get on the OnePlus 13, because I'd say you're not really settling with the OnePlus 13R. I could do a commercial for this company. Come on, OnePlus, hit me up. Someone in my last video asked if the back is actually plastic or glass. This is actually using some new glass material. Long story short, out of all the marketing technical words they use, it's a glass back. Doesn't look glass. I'd say the glass that we're getting nowadays on smartphones are pretty exceptional. So yeah, this is glass. It's not plastic. I don't see where this is removable at all. If you were looking for removable smartphones, those things got left in the past in 2005. We are here in 2025, and overall, I would say the OnePlus 13R is a pretty good device. One of the reasons I would say you might want to go over to the OnePlus 13R instead of the 13 is, for one, what can your wallet handle? Can it handle the $600 price tag, or can it handle the upper price that the 13 offers? Also, the display. I actually kind of prefer the display on the 13 over the 13R. I know a lot of companies are going back to this flat design, but I like the way the screen kind of falls over and it looks bigger than what it really is. It just gives you a bit of immersion when looking at it. I'd say it's probably completely up to the person, what their objective or subjective, preferences. But overall, the competition in this price category is really fierce. I believe for like $50 more, because the Pixel 9 is typically on sale. You can get a Pixel, and I would say, there's this whole argument about how much performance do you really need in a smartphone. Using the Pixel 9, and you can watch my day in the life videos because I don't really do anything too crazy. I think I use my phone in a very normal manner. The Pixel 9 performance is plenty enough for me. The only difference I would say is longevity, because this offers 6 years of software. As you go on those years, like year 3, year 4, your performance starts to matter. And I think Apple has got that down from years ago. But when it comes over to the Android side, it can be a bit of a hit or miss. And if your processor cannot keep up in, let's say, 2028, 2029, even 2030, and you're offering almost a life support, OS support, your processor needs to be able to keep up, or you need to have an efficient OS. Long story short, the OnePlus does have the advantage of, even if you don't really care about software updates, your phone is probably still going to outperform whatever Pixel device comes in the future years once you start getting those OS updates. That being said, I didn't have any problems using the Pixel 9 in my data life video, and I'd say the performance is plenty enough for me. That's just my own personal usage on a smartphone. But you are getting a substantial, I don't say substantially, I would just say you're getting an overall better camera on the Pixel series. Way more natural. You're getting a lot more detailed and retained. You're getting all those goodies when it comes to those AI features that are really just kind of tacked on top of all these other manufacturers on the Android side, like the whole Gemini thing being new on a OS level. It's really just using Gemini from my understanding. I could be wrong. If anyone in the industry can correct me, but you're really just opening the Gemini app and calling it over and over again via APIs. But OnePlus 13R, you guys let me know what you think of this device. I love it so far. $600, would I pick it up? Let me do a deeper dive between the Pixel 9 and the 13R, because I used to say I don't care too much about cameras, but nowadays cameras are, I would say, pretty important, especially as you get older, because you do want to have, the best cameras and pictures and videos of that you take of your loved ones and just things that you do. I don't care too much about performance, so I probably would pay for that $50 extra, but I don't know for certain until I do a deeper dive and comparison video between the Pixel 9 and the 13R. But first impressions, I'm pretty impressed. This isn't the only phone out in America and around the world. There are other smartphones in this price category. If you do end up picking up this device, just from first impressions alone, I would say you're probably going to have a pretty good time with it. Don't think it's going to give you too many problems. Don't like how the fingerprint sensor is at the bottom, though. I'd like it to be a little bit higher like it is on the 13, but you can't have it all, right? You got to have your expectations in place, but with Oxygen OS 15 feeling like a pretty solid upgrade overall, if you have the 12 series, I'd probably ignore this. Even the 11 and 10 may not be worth upgrading to. 13, I'd say solid phone. Solid phone. So with all that being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Once I'm done doing my day in the life with the 13, you guys let me know if you want to see a day in the life with the 13R. And even in the day in the life, I can tell you guys if I could tell if there's any real difference between using the two. Newsflash, probably not outside the camera. But that's my first impressions. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. And as always, guys, much love. You can definitely see the whites from, I'm not sure what this is called on this part of the ocean. I'm just going to call them waves. What's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? So we're going to continue the OnePlus train. Someone in my last video asked, let's get into it. But first, a word from our sponsor, Nobody. I got to charge that thing. So I'll revisit the OnePlus 13, and this, obviously OnePlus has the slider that lets you, determine whether you want ringer, vibrate, or silent. I think it might be opposite, but you get the direction. So the OnePlus 13R is set up. I transferred as much information as I could from the 13 over to the 13R. I'm not sure why it's a day ahead. More and more, I actually kind of prefer the classic layout over this new modern design in Oxygen OS 15, but this is what you get. It does have the Snapdragon